All right, so we're looking at the celebrations at Eagle Square. The dancers, they're flipping, they're back flipping. Lots of look at the acrobatic skills there with the dancers live at Eagle Square, Abuja. Nigeria's Diamond Jubilee celebration, 60th Independence Day. Looking ahead, watching this, all the proceedings are the President Buhari, the First Lady, the Vice President, all in masks, all socially distanced. And now I'm gonna read this from earlier today. President Buhari, of course, had this morning been addressing Nigerians on the occasion of the nation's 60th anniversary, and most of the address focused on what he termed peaceful coexistence, without which it will be difficult to achieve collective greatness. Other areas covered by his speech, and there's the president clapping right now, include an increase in pump price of petrol, the deregulation of downstream petrol, which he said has come to stay because of subsisting circumstances and the need to improve the economy for a secure future. And of course, we have a panel joining me to discuss the president's comments, as well as looking at some key sectors. Our panel includes the CEO of Alpha Africa Advisory, Sonyade Okoli, our in-house analyst, yes, there she is right there, our in-house analyst, Chika Umbono, Arise Business, yes, there's Chika, and of course, Bode Oshosomi over in London. You are all very, very welcome. Sonyade, let me start with you. I want to ask, and I'll pose the same question to the three of you, but we'll be looking at manufacturing, oil and gas, and banking and finance. So, Sonyade, for you, with respect to manufacturing, over the last 60 years, can you point to any notable achievements in that sector?
Well, yes, actually, Rotus. First of all, good morning. Good to see you again after quite a while. I think if you look at the Nigerian manufacturing sector and economy compared to other, let's say, West Africans, the Nigerian economy is actually dominated by Nigerians. It's held by Nigerians. I can think of other countries where you have, for example, the Lebanese, quite dominant in Sierra Leone. In some of the Francophone countries, you have the French. But here in Nigeria, it's actually held by Nigerians. And then if you look at the privatizations that have happened, and also, issuing of licenses, allowing and encouraging private sector participation, and I think the telecom sector is a good example, we absolutely have seen some achievements over the last 60 years.
Chika, I posed the same question to you, Sonyade. I said, yes, there have been some achievements, notable achievements in the manufacturing sector over the last 60 years. So to you, I ask, in the banking and finance sector, over the last 60 years, any notable achievements you can point to?
Certainly. I mean, from banks that were owned by foreigners in the early 60s to nationalized banks, and now to banks that are owned by individuals. The banking industry in Nigeria has been privatized. And as you go around Africa, as you even travel to London and to other foreign countries, you see the Nigerian brands out there, promoting Nigerian image. So yes, the Nigerian banking industry, finance industry, and banking and finance industry has grown in the last 60 years, and there's a lot to celebrate.
Fantastic. Arise business analyst Bode Oshosomi over in London. Bode, for the energy sector, what achievements can you point to, if any, over the last 60 years in Nigeria?
Well, indeed, we've seen a lot of achievements, and I really must commend the display. So rich in color, talent, diversity, and that's at Eagle Square. Truly awesome. Nigeria is indeed a blessed nation. And even in the oil and gas sector, although, yes, there have been challenges, you have to consider that it started mainly with multinationals in the more prolific fields, but we've seen increased monetization of what we call the marginal oil fields, and more participation of local independent oil companies and increasing local content. I think that's one major achievement. The other thing, of course, we can't deny is the key positive impact on the government revenue and foreign exchange earnings. And other people have argued that this is negative in the sense that it stifled other sectors. But I still think it was a blessing to Nigeria being able to enable the country to finance several ventures and clearly the ability of this sector to be a major foreign exchange earner is a key positive. The other thing many people don't know about the sector is that it's very rich in manpower, deep manpower, and I think manpower development and skills in the Nigerian oil and gas sector largely underexploited in my view, but they're there. You've got one of the smartest engineers, many of them that have had a lot of experience in many areas in the upstream, even in the downstream as well. So I think you look at the resources, the people, you look at the impact on government revenue and foreign exchange earnings, and the fact that we now have local independent oil companies, more local content, and we've been able to monetize some oil fields that maybe would not have been touched. So it's a sector that clearly is growing, but it's one that we certainly have things to celebrate.
Thank you so much for that, Bode Oshosimi. Okay, Sanyade, back to you. I want to talk about challenges now. Can you speak to some of the challenges that we're looking at that hopefully can be overcome in the manufacturing sector?
I think the key one that everyone obviously talks about all the time is infrastructure, because manufacturing is obviously highly dependent on power. And we're still trying to grapple with the power issues. But I must admit, I might not be popular for saying this, but I'm one person who actually agrees with the government moves to actually liberalize the pricing of electricity. Because the reality is, if we want investors to invest in the electricity sector, it needs to be attractive, it needs to make sense. So just liberalizing it and getting rid of the subsidies goes a long way. So I think that's really, just addressing infrastructure, then also roads, when people manufacture goods, being able to move the goods from one part of the country to another, and if we're looking at exportation, being able to move the goods freely out of Nigeria. And lastly, I would talk about skill sets, really ensuring that we have the right skills in the right place at the right time, to be able to ensure that we can manufacture competitively. Because part of the issue we face in Nigeria is not just our ability to manufacture, but it's our ability to manufacture competitively, especially when you have the likes of China in the world.
Thank you so much for that, Sanyade Okoli. So lots of points you've touched on there as far as the challenges in the manufacturing sector, skill set, infrastructure. Chika, I throw the question to you for banking and finance. Challenges.
From the time that we had the 4 big banks in Nigeria, Nigerian banking industry evolved to what they call the new generation banks. And then with poor corporate governance and poor risk asset management processes, a lot of banks collapsed. And so you had banking failures and a lot of people lost their money in the banking system. So that's one major issue. And the system learned from that. And a couple of other banks evolved and became better. And supervision by Central Bank and NDIC also became stronger. And then so today you have what has been evolved as a strong banking industry. But along the line also you have times where people have said that the banks are flowering, are declaring big profits in the land of poverty. So you see the banks growing when the other parts of the economy where they are getting the money from are not growing. So you have had issues like that. Of course, in running you can't divorce the banking industry from the economy that you're operating. So all the economic issues we have in this country have impacted the banking industry, and they have thrived and faced the challenges, and that's where we are today.
Thank you for that, Chika. Bode, I throw the same question to you for the energy sector as far as the challenges that you've observed.
Well, there are quite a lot of challenges. I'll just mention a few. I think perhaps the most critical challenge that confronts the oil and gas sector, it remains the political and security risks. These risks have always been there, the issue of the governance, regulation, the politics, and how this disturbs the industry very quietly in the background. But because oil prices were high, many companies or many stakeholders essentially held their nose, and it didn't really disturb the industry as much, although I think it led to a lot of squandering of resources. But now that oil prices are extremely low, investors are now much more looking for much more competitive environments. The risk return or risk reward trade-off has changed completely. So what we used to have, and it never used to be an issue, certainly has become a major issue, the regulation, the governance. And when you look at this issue, it's about putting in place commercial structures that are transparent, that are attractive to investors, that are competitive for investors. And these structures, of course, has to be worked out in a way where you don't bottle down, you don't have bottlenecks, as a result of government bureaucracy in approving projects and so on. And of course, the fiscal regime was maybe not an issue at a time when oil prices were high, but now that oil prices are much lower, you have to look at your fiscal regime again. And presently, the fiscal regime is undynamic. Of course, there are other issues in terms of security. The other big issue is reserve replacement. You have to keep doing your exploration at a level that you are replacing your reserves. That, I think, has been a bit of a challenge, which is also related to the investment attractiveness or the competitiveness of the environment. Now that we are at a time when many of the multinationals are relooking their asset portfolio very rigorously from a fresh risk-return perspective, then I can't but mention value addition. That's the refineries, the downstream. It's a disgrace that we are importing petroleum products, but I'm sure we've said a lot about that issue, but it's a disgrace. But clearly, it's a huge challenge to us, and we really need to learn from the lessons of the past and take the next 60 years in a different direction.
Thank you for that, Bode Ososumi. Sanyade, before I come to you, I want to go back to the live celebrations in Eagle Square. Let's take a look at what's happening in Abuja. Here we go. Let's take a listen at the proceedings at Eagle Square, Abuja, as we celebrate Nigeria's 60th independence. There's our leaders right there applauding the proceedings. Let's take a listen.
At this point, may I hand over the commentary to my co-commentator, Squadron Leader Gloria Tonha, for the next item on our program, which is the Nigerian Air Force air display. Squadron Leader Tonha, please.
Thank you, Captain Innocent Aldu. Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. I warmly and heartily welcome you to the aerial display segment and fly past the commemoration of Nigeria's Diamond Independence Anniversary celebration. In this fly past, 3 platforms which form part of the Nigerian Air Force aircraft inventory shall be displayed here today in celebration of Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary. They are the Augusta helicopters with call sign the Falcons, the Alpha Jets with call sign the Aggressors, and the L-39ZA with call sign the Cobras. Permit me to inform you, Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, that the fly past this morning shall be in 3 waves. The first wave shall be the Augusta helicopters flying in a 2-ship formation, proudly displaying the Nigeria's 60th Diamond Anniversary banner. The second wave are the Alpha Jets flying in a 3-ship formation. And finally, the L-39ZA also flying in a 3-ship formation.
All right, so we're looking at proceedings at Eagle Square, Abuja, about to get an aerial display, starting with the Augusta helicopters and then the Alpha Jets, promised to be quite impressive over in Abuja as we celebrate Nigeria's 60th independence. And of course, we have President Buhari, the First Lady, Vice President Osibanjo, looking at proceedings there. We come back to our panel. Of course, again, we have the CEO of Alpha African Advisory, Sanyade Okoli, and our in-house analyst, Bode Ososumi, over in the in London, and Chika Mboni here with me in Lagos. Sanyade, I want to ask you about how we've talked about achievements in manufacturing, we've talked about challenges. Now I want to ask you how Nigeria is positioned in manufacturing in that sector over the next 60 years. How do you see things?
Well, personally, Mauritius, I feel quite positive. I feel like the clouds are beginning to part over Nigeria, not least because I think this 60th anniversary, people really see it as a watermark, as a watershed, and recognizing that some of the things we've done in the past, we can't keep doing that in the future. So even if you look at the president's speech, some of the things he's talking about, where he recognizes that actually Nigeria plays such a pivotal role in the continent, that Nigeria has wounds that needs to be healed. He talks about national identity, et cetera, because at the end of the day, for us to really get to where we need to go to, we need to begin to address some of the mindsets, some of the things we actually believe about Nigeria. As I mentioned earlier, I believe that given that power is such a critical part of the success of manufacturing, by removing the subsidies and actually just opening up the power sector for investors to come in, we begin to actually take the right steps for manufacturing here in Nigeria.
Thank you so much for that, Asanya Diokoli. Chika Mbona, I come to you. As far as where you see banking and finance positioned, where Nigeria is positioned in the sector over the next 60 years.
Let me share my experience I had yesterday. I was on a road journey in a town about 3 hours from Owerri, capital of Imo State.
Yes.
And it became necessary for me to do a banking transaction. And I was in transit on the road there. I was able to do it. And it was so easy and smooth. Then I recall also some time ago when I was a younger banking officer, we used to drive out and then take a mobile phone in the window of the car looking for service to enable us to call Lagos to get a account balance. So you could see that the progress that we've made. I see us also, the banking industry in Nigeria, moving more. We made a lot of progress in the digital banking framework. It's going to expand more. Before COVID, a lot of Nigerian banks were pushing out retail lending, which has been lacking in this economy. But the COVID literally shut it down for most of the banks. I see that also expanding more so that money can get into the hands of citizens, individuals, and small corporates to enable them expand their business also. One of the things lacking in this system is proper mortgage lending. I also see the banks who finally go around it. Do recall that one of the limiting factors has been the high interest rate regime we had in Nigeria.
Yes.
With interest rates now, hugging the lower single digits, I do believe that will also come up. The other thing I see coming up again is the Nigerian banks conquering Africa. Nigerian conquering Africa. Even though now a lot of Nigerian banks they lag in size compared to a lot of South African banks, I do believe that you can see a lot of banks in Nigeria are pushing out the African franchises. And they're going to profit from the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement in expanding their franchise. So it's a continued role in the frontal role they have in the economy, expanding the economy, providing the funding and the credit required for the economy to grow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Chika. Bode, we're wrapping up, so we want to get final words. But please, Bode, as you are over in the UK, if you can also, I guess, combine your final words with where you see Nigeria's energy sector positioned for the next 60 years.
Well, the next 60 years, the road to calls for a sense of new realities. Technology will certainly play a major role in every sector, whether it's oil and gas or manufacturing or even banking. But more so, the energy story now is about disruption, crippling oil demand as a result of coronavirus, renewables displacing fossil fuels, and the potential of a Biden presidency upending that sector even in the US. And like I was saying, the sector has essentially been supplied by fossil fuel in the last 100 years. That's going to change. We are going to see substantial decarbonization in the next 50 years due to the urgency towards greening the economy as a result of climate change pressures. This is whether we like it or not, whether we believe in it or not. This is just where the direction is. The largest companies in terms of capital are already making adjustments. They typically determine the trajectory for energy supply mix. They are pushing more and more into renewables and sustainability, and the IUCs have seen this reality. They're already making serious adjustments to skew towards renewables. Oil consumption may have peaked in 2019 at 100 million barrels and is primed for drastic 100 million barrels per day, and is primed for major reduction to anywhere from 60 million barrels per day to as low as 25 million barrels per day. And so it's a different environment. In Nigeria specifically, I think we are not yet seeing that seriousness around a decarbonized future. My sense is in 50 years' time, no country, no developed country will be making cars with carbon fuel cars. Maybe China will be making, or some emerging market will be making some of those types of cars for environments where they are not ready. But what we are going to see is more of electric cars running side by side with carbon fuel cars. So we need to be strongly positioned in the gas sector, in the renewable energy sector. And the gas sector is where we also need to be strongly positioned, although we are doing quite well there. Gas is also going to be another source of energy that will grow. But in short, Nigeria needs a long-term energy plan that is ready for life after fossil fuels.
Thank you so much, Bode Oshoshimi over in the UK. Sanyade, unfortunately we've run out of time, but I'm pretty sure your final words were part of your prior answer when you told us how things are positioned for the future. Chika, we are pretty much out of time, so I want to thank you as well for joining us. Arise business analyst Chika Mbonu, Bode Oshoshimi in the UK, and the CEO of Alpha African Advisory, Sanyade Okoli. Thank you all for giving us your insights. And now we go back to Eagle Square to continue with the celebrations. I'm Rotu Sodiri from the Global Business Report on Arise News. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all next time. Stay tuned.
The aircraft was given a new lease of life in country and weaponized by a joint team of engineers and technicians from the Czech Republic and the Nigerian Air Force, and ever since has been actively involved in operations such as Operation Lafia Dole in the northeast, Operation Hadarin Daji in the northwest, as well as actively involved in the training of fighter pilots for the Nigerian Air Force. Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, the lead aircraft for today's formation is flown by Squadron Leader Utibe Brown and Squadron Leader Yaswarsu Yabilsu. The second aircraft is flown by Squadron Leader Mansur Yusuf and Squadron Leader Jeremiah Akebu, while the third aircraft is flown by Squadron Leader Tarilado Ogoina and Flight Lieutenant Kabir Usman. Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it may interest you to know